In the quiet spaces between heartbeats there is a whisper. A sound not heard with the ears but felt with the soul. It is older than your name, older than the body you inhabit, older than time itself. This whisper has followed you through every joy and sorrow, every success and every defeat. It calls not with urgency but with patience, like a river flowing, waiting for you to notice its song. And yet, in our world of endless noise, this whisper is often drowned out. The notifications, the obligations, the endless chase of achievement, they crowd the silence where the soul speaks. But if you pause long enough, if you turn inward with sincerity, you will hear it again, the echo of ancient wisdom guiding you back to who you truly are. This first part of our journey is about tuning into those echoes, not as relics of the past, but as living truths waiting to awaken your inner compass. The human longing beneath the noise. Every human being, no matter their culture or age, has felt the quiet ache of longing. It is that subtle dissatisfaction even in the midst of abundance. You may achieve what you once believed would fulfill you, a career, recognition, relationships, comfort, and yet, beneath it all there remains a whisper. Is this all there is? This yearning is not a flaw. It is the signature of the soul itself. The very fact that material accomplishments do not fully quench it is evidence that we were never designed to live only for survival or status. We are creatures of meaning, drawn toward something transcendent. The ancient Greeks called this daimon, an inner guiding spirit that shapes destiny. In India it was spoken of as dharma, the rightful path aligned with one's true nature. In indigenous traditions, it appears as the ancestral voice, the unseen guidance carried through generations. Across time and geography humanity has always known, within us lies a compass. Socrates and the voice within. The philosopher Socrates, one of history's great seekers of truth, often spoke of his daimonion, an inner voice that guided his actions. It did not command, but gently warned when he strayed from his rightful path. Socrates trusted this voice so deeply that even when he was sentenced to death, he did not resist, for he believed his inner compass had never misled him. What strikes us is not merely his courage but his clarity. He lived not by external approval but by inner alignment. And his legacy endures because he trusted what most of us ignore, the quiet guidance that arises not from logic, but from the depths of the soul. You too have felt it, that subtle nudge not to take a certain road, that unexplainable attraction to a certain path, that inner knowing which defies reason but proves itself with time. This is not superstition. It is the same whisper that guided the sages. The mystics listening. Across the desert sands of Persia, the poet Rumi once wrote, "There is a voice that doesn't use words. Listen." Mystics across traditions discovered that true purpose cannot be imposed from the outside. It must be heard from within. And hearing requires silence. They withdrew into deserts, forests, mountains, caves, not to escape the world but to hear more clearly. You do not need a cave to do this. But you do need courage to sit in stillness without distraction. In that stillness, something remarkable happens. You begin to sense the continuity of your life, the way certain passions, pains, and encounters have been guiding you all along. The whisper is not random. It has been weaving the threads of your destiny since the beginning. Why modern life feels so loud? Today, perhaps more than at any time in history, we are surrounded by noise. Not only audible noise but informational noise, emotional noise, mental noise. We wake to alarms, scroll through headlines, compare ourselves to endless feeds of curated lives, and move through schedules dictated by external demands. This is why so many feel lost. The compass is not broken but buried under static. The whisper is there but faint. The paradox is this: we look outward for clarity, but the more we chase, the further we drift from the still point where clarity lives. Our ancestors understood something we have forgotten, that to hear the truth of the soul, one must first create space for it to speak. The universal call for meaning. Consider this: every civilization has created myths, rituals, and philosophies centered on purpose. Why? Because humans cannot live by bread alone. Once survival is secured, the next hunger arises, the hunger for meaning. This is why kings built temples, why shamans told stories by firelight, why philosophers debated under the stars. They were all seeking the same thing you seek, to understand why they were here. This hunger is evidence of design. Just as thirst proves the existence of water, the longing for meaning proves that meaning exists. The compass would not be within you if there were no destination to reach. The restlessness of success. You may have noticed that some of the most materially successful people confess to feeling empty. They climb the mountain only to discover the summit offers no peace. This is because purpose is not found in accumulation but in alignment. To live aligned is to feel at home in yourself, regardless of external circumstance. To live misaligned is to feel restless even when surrounded by abundance. The whisper does not stop simply because you achieved worldly milestones. In fact, it often grows louder, asking, "Now that you have all this, will you finally listen?" Stories across civilizations. Let us travel across time for a moment. In the Upanishads of India, sages taught that the self is like a chariot, with the soul as the rider and the intellect as the charioteer. But unless the rider knows the destination, the chariot wanders aimlessly. In Native American traditions, the concept of the vision quest was a sacred rite. Young seekers would enter solitude, fasting and praying, until they received a guiding vision for their life. In ancient Egypt, the heart of the deceased was weighed against the feather of truth in the afterlife. A heart heavy with denial of its purpose could not pass into eternity. Different cultures, yet the same theme. Life without alignment to the inner compass leads to wandering. Life with alignment leads to freedom. The echo you already know. Here is a truth worth pausing on. You have already felt your soul's compass. It might have been in a fleeting childhood dream, a sudden knowing in a quiet moment, or the unexplainable joy of doing something that made time disappear. Those moments are not accidents. They are glimpses of your blueprint. But glimpses alone are not enough. We must learn to listen consistently. We must learn to trust. And most importantly, we must learn to act. The forgotten art of listening. Listening to the whisper is not about escaping reality. It is about living more fully within it. It requires cultivating 3 forgotten arts. Stillness, carving out space without distraction. Attention, noticing the subtle movements of inner guidance. Trust, acting upon that guidance even when logic protests. When you practice these, the whisper grows clearer. What was once a faint echo becomes a steady compass. And the more you align, the more life itself begins to respond. Synchronicities appear, doors open, challenges refine you rather than destroy you. A glimpse toward the next step. This is the foundation, recognizing that you are not empty, not broken, not without guidance. You already carry within you the echo of ancient whispers, waiting for your attention. In the next part of our journey, we will move deeper. We will learn to decode your soul's signature, to recognize the recurring patterns of passion, pain, and purpose that reveal what you are here to do. But before we step there, pause here. Ask yourself, when was the last time I felt the quiet certainty of inner knowing? What distractions in my life keep me from hearing it now? Am I willing to create space to listen again? The compass has always been with you. You need only the courage to listen. The whisper of the soul is not foreign. It has been speaking to you through the events of your life since the beginning. The question is not whether the blueprint exists. It does. The question is whether you have learned how to read it. Every joy, every failure, every passion and frustration carries a clue. Your life is not random. It is a tapestry woven with repeating patterns, waiting for you to notice the design. To decode your soul's signature is to awaken the map that has been guiding you silently all along. Life as a tapestry of patterns. If you look closely at your past, you will notice threads that repeat. Certain themes show up again and again. Interests you can't seem to ignore, struggles that keep resurfacing, desires that never quite leave you. These are not coincidences. They are markers, guideposts in your soul's blueprint. For example, a child fascinated with drawing may find themselves pulled back to art years later, even after pursuing a practical career. Someone who repeatedly finds themselves in caregiving roles, whether for friends, family, or colleagues, carries within them a healer's signature. A person drawn to questions of truth, justice, or philosophy will often feel restless until they honor that pull. The soul is patient. If ignored, it repeats itself louder. If resisted, it sends stronger lessons. To decode your signature is to finally recognize the handwriting of destiny written across the canvas of your life. The hidden wisdom of your wounds. One of the most overlooked aspects of purpose lies in our struggles. We often treat pain as meaningless suffering. But from a higher view, pain is one of the most precise teachers. Consider. Many great healers were once deeply wounded themselves. Many advocates for justice once suffered injustice. Many guides and teachers once stumbled through darkness before becoming beacons for others. Your wounds are not detours. They are chapters of initiation. They carve depth into your being, preparing you to hold wisdom that cannot be learned from books. What you once thought was breaking you may actually have been shaping you into the person capable of carrying your purpose. Failures as compass corrections. We live in a culture that fears failure, but in truth, failure is one of the most reliable ways the compass speaks. A closed door, a collapse, a mistake. These are not punishments. They are redirections. When you are misaligned, life has a way of creating friction. But when you are aligned, doors open with surprising ease. To decode your soul signature, you must learn to reinterpret failure. Ask not, why did this happen to me? But, what is this teaching me about where I do and do not belong? In time, you will see that failures are not random obstacles, but carefully placed markers guiding you home. Triumphs as confirmation. Just as failures guide, so too do triumphs confirm. Think of the moments when you felt fully alive, when you lost track of time because you were immersed in something you loved. These are not accidents, they are confirmations of alignment. When the soul is engaged, there is a sense of effortlessness, of flow. The poet Mihai Csikszentmihalyi called this flow state, a merging of self and action where one feels both challenged and deeply fulfilled. These states are glimpses of your soul's natural terrain. The key is to recognize them not as random highs but as signals. They point you toward where your energy naturally belongs. Journaling prompts for self-decoding. To begin decoding, you must engage in self-inquiry. Writing is one of the most powerful ways to do this, for it brings the unconscious into the visible. Here are some prompts to sit with. Passion patterns. What activities make me lose track of time? What subjects light me up even when no reward is attached? Pain patterns. What struggles or wounds have repeated in my life? What lessons might they be asking me to learn? Failure feedback. Which failures redirected me? Looking back, where did these wrong turns actually prevent me from deeper misalignment? Triumph traces. What victories felt the most meaningful, not because of recognition but because of how they resonated within me? Childhood clues. What dreams or fascinations did I have before the world told me who I should be? As you write, notice themes that echo across answers. These themes are your soul's handwriting. The balance of passion and responsibility. Purpose is not always about abandoning everything for passion. True alignment harmonizes inner calling with outer responsibility. For example, you may feel called to write but also need to provide for family. The compass does not demand recklessness, it invites integration. Begin with small, consistent acts that honor your passion while fulfilling your responsibilities. Over time, as alignment grows, pathways open to live your purpose more fully. The soul never asks you to abandon wisdom. It asks you to align courage with patience. The blueprint hidden in childhood. So often, our earliest years hold the clearest clues. Children are unfiltered expressions of soul before society layers them with expectations. The things you loved as a child, the games you played, the dreams you had, they are windows into your original design. If you loved building, perhaps creation is your essence. If you loved storytelling, perhaps communication is your gift. If you were always caring for others, perhaps service is your path. Of course, not all childhood interests are literal careers. But they reveal archetypes of your soul. They show what naturally brings you alive. Revisiting them is like holding up an old map and realizing it still leads home. The courage to acknowledge desire. One of the hardest steps in decoding your blueprint is simply admitting what you truly want. Desire has been shamed in many cultures, seen as selfish, impractical, or naive. But genuine desire is the language of the soul. Ask yourself honestly, what do I want to experience in this life? If I had no fear and no limitation, what would I do? What vision feels both exhilarating and terrifying because it is so true to me? The answers may not fit society's expectations. They may not even fit your own old self-image. But they are the raw signals of your blueprint. To deny them is to live misaligned. To embrace them is to begin walking your true path. The dance of discomfort and calling. Interestingly, purpose often lives at the intersection of passion and discomfort. What do I mean? Think of the issues in the world that disturb you most deeply, injustices, problems, or needs that ignite something within you. These are not random irritations. They are signals of where your soul longs to contribute. If you are deeply moved by the suffering of children, or the destruction of nature, or the silence around mental health, it is because your blueprint carries a role in addressing it. Your discomfort is not only a wound to be healed, it is also a compass pointing toward your calling. Integration, seeing the design. When you step back and look at your life as a whole, the passions, the pains, the failures, the triumphs, you begin to see a design. Like a constellation, the individual stars may seem scattered until you connect them. Then a pattern emerges. This is decoding your soul signature. It is not about inventing purpose from scratch. It is about recognizing what has been there all along. A glimpse toward the next step. You now understand that your life carries within it a blueprint waiting to be decoded. By reflecting on passions, wounds, failures, triumphs, and desires, you uncover the handwriting of the soul. But decoding is not enough. To live aligned, we must also learn to interpret the myths and metaphors that reveal the deeper layers of the human journey. This is where we turn next. Part 3, The Blueprint Within, Myths and Metaphors. The blueprint of your soul does not speak in plain language. It speaks in images, symbols, and stories. To truly understand it, you must learn to read metaphor, the sacred language of the subconscious, the way wisdom has been carried through myths across civilizations. For thousands of years, before philosophy became academic and psychology became scientific, humanity encoded its deepest truths in stories. Myths are not just entertainment, they are maps. They are mirrors of your own inner journey. To unpack them is to realize that you are not wandering aimlessly, you are walking a path traveled by countless souls before you. Why the soul speaks in symbols. Think of your dreams. They rarely present truths literally. Instead, they weave together images, scenes, and strange allegories. Why? Because the unconscious, where the soul dwells, speaks in the language of metaphor. This is why cultures birthed myths, to give form to the formless. Whether it was the Greeks telling of Odysseus, the Hindus speaking of Arjuna in the Bhagavad Gita, or native traditions sharing tales of tricksters and warriors, the underlying purpose was the same, to guide the seeker through the labyrinth of life. Your own soul speaks this way too. Certain symbols, animals, or themes may repeat in your life and dreams. These are not meaningless. They are personal myths, encoded guidance asking to be interpreted. The hero's journey is your journey. One of the most universal mythic structures is what Joseph Campbell called the hero's journey. It is the story behind nearly every epic, from ancient myths to modern films. And it is also the story of your soul. The pattern usually follows this arc. The call to adventure. Something within whispers that life holds more. Refusal of the call. Fear and doubt lead you to resist. Crossing the threshold, you step into the unknown. Trials and initiations, challenges shape and refine you. Helpers and guides, mentors and allies appear. The abyss, a deep struggle or crisis that tests your core. Transformation, you discover strength and wisdom you never knew you had. The return, you bring your gift back to the world. When you reflect on your life, you can recognize these stages. Perhaps you are in the call, perhaps in the trials, perhaps in the abyss. Wherever you are, know this. The pattern is not random. It is the blueprint unfolding. Ancient myths as mirrors. Let us glimpse a few myths and their hidden guidance. Theseus and the labyrinth. The hero enters a maze to confront the Minotaur. This mirrors our inner journey, to face the beast of fear and illusion within the labyrinth of our own mind. Purpose emerges when we no longer flee from what terrifies us. The phoenix rising from ashes. Death and rebirth symbolize how our greatest breakdowns often precede breakthroughs. Your failures are not endings, they are necessary fires for renewal. The chariot of Arjuna in the Bhagavad Gita. The warrior stands conflicted on the battlefield of life, torn between duty and despair. His divine guide reminds him that alignment with Dharma, his soul's duty, is greater than fear. The journey of Odysseus, a long voyage home after war filled with detours, temptations, and trials. This mirrors our human quest to return to the true self, the inner home we never truly left. When you see your own struggles mirrored in these ancient tales, you realize, you are not lost. You are participating in a story as old as humanity itself. Personal metaphors, writing your own myth. Your soul also speaks in metaphors unique to you. For one person, life may feel like climbing a mountain, for another like tending a garden. For someone else, it may feel like sailing through storms toward a distant shore. These personal metaphors are not trivial, they are your blueprint expressing itself in imagery. If you reflect on the metaphors you naturally use when describing your life, you will uncover insights about your path. Ask yourself, do I often describe life as a battle, a journey, a dance, or a river? What recurring images appear in my dreams or imagination? What stories, films, or myths resonate with me most deeply and why? These metaphors are not random preferences. They are signposts pointing to your archetype, your mythic identity, your role in the greater story. The ideal future is mythic vision. Another way to decode your blueprint is through visualization, imagining your ideal future. This is not mere wishful thinking. When you create a clear vision, you are engaging in myth-making, telling the story of who you are becoming. Close your eyes and imagine. What does your life look like when you are fully aligned with your purpose? What work are you doing? Who is around you? How do you feel waking up each day? Do not dismiss these visions as fantasy. They are magnetic pulls from your soul, hints of the blueprint ahead. The clearer the vision, the stronger its gravitational force. Why stories transform us? Stories change us because they bypass logic and speak directly to the soul. When you read a myth or watch a film where the hero overcomes impossible odds, you feel something stir inside. That stirring is recognition, your inner compass resonating with its own path. This is why myth and metaphor are so powerful in decoding your purpose. They awaken truths you already know but have forgotten. They remind you that you, too, are the hero of a story still unfolding. Living as a symbol. The ultimate step is to realize, your life itself is becoming a myth. Every choice you make, every obstacle you overcome, every gift you share adds another chapter. Someday, others may look back on your story as inspiration. To live with this awareness is to live mythically, not in arrogance but in humility. You are part of a grand design, a universal story. Your soul's blueprint is not just for you, it ripples outward into the collective. A glimpse toward the next step. Now you see that your soul's blueprint reveals itself not only in patterns of life but in the great metaphors and myths that have guided humanity for millennia. By reading these symbols, you begin to understand your journey as part of a larger story. But knowing the story is not enough. You must also learn to listen to your inner oracle, the subtle intuition that guides you in real time, and then harmonize your actions with purpose. That is where we journey next in Part 4, cultivating your inner oracle and harmonizing action. Harmonizing action with purpose. The inner compass, once awakened, is not meant to remain an abstract idea or a poetic symbol in our imagination. It is meant to guide us toward action, action that aligns with the essence of who we are. But here lies the challenge. How do we bring this compass into the often chaotic, unpredictable, and demanding reality of life? How do we transform whispers of inner knowing into steady footsteps upon the earth? We begin with the recognition that purpose is not found in a single grand act, but in the harmony of consistent small choices. Too often, people expect purpose to reveal itself as a thunderclap, an immediate revelation that transforms everything. In truth, it is much more like dawn, gradual, gentle, and often unnoticed until we realize the world around us has become illuminated. Every small action that resonates with your authentic self is like a brushstroke on the canvas of your destiny. When you cook with care, when you speak with kindness, when you create with passion, when you study with focus, these are not trivialities. They are the living manifestations of your inner blueprint. But we must acknowledge the shadow that often arises: resistance. Resistance manifests as procrastination, fear, self-doubt, or the lure of comfort. It whispers, "Not now, not yet, maybe later." This is where courage enters the path. To live in alignment with your soul's blueprint is to move despite the tremors of fear. Courage does not mean the absence of fear, it means moving in harmony with your compass, even while the fear walks beside you. Consider the hero's journey once more. Every hero, after receiving the call, encounters trials, monsters to fight, temptations to resist, dark nights of despair. These are not punishments, they are necessary initiations. They sculpt resilience and deepen wisdom. Your obstacles, too, are not barriers against your purpose but secret teachers, refining your soul's strength. One practical way to harmonize action with purpose is to create rituals. Rituals are not only spiritual acts, they are structured reminders that connect you to your compass daily. A morning reflection, an evening journal, a moment of breath before a meeting, these are sacred acts, small but powerful, that anchor you to your purpose in the noise of life. Another vital practice is authenticity. Living authentically means refusing to wear masks that suffocate your truth. It means daring to let your life be an honest reflection of your values, even when it may displease others or defy conventional expectations. This is one of the hardest lessons, for society often rewards conformity over authenticity. But remember, when you betray your truth, you dim not only your light but also the light you were meant to share with the world. Your greatest contribution is not in copying another's path but in embodying your own. The world does not need more replicas, it needs originals. And you are an unrepeatable expression of existence itself. As we arrive at the culmination of this journey, let us pause to reflect on the arc we have walked together. We began by hearing the echo of ancient whispers, the timeless reminder that we are guided by something within, if only we choose to listen. We decoded the signature of the soul, unveiling how passions, pains, and patterns all point toward hidden directions. We traversed myths and metaphors, realizing that the stories of old are mirrors for our own transformation. We cultivated the inner oracle, learning to trust the subtleties of intuition and the silence of solitude. And now we stand here, ready to harmonize thought with action, inner blueprint with outer reality. So I leave you with a question. What is the one step, small, simple, yet true, that you can take today in the direction of your inner compass? Not tomorrow, not when life feels convenient, but today. Purpose is not something to wait for, it is something to live, moment by moment. Beloved seeker, as you listen to these words, remember, you are not adrift in the vast sea of life. Within you burns a quiet flame, a compass born of the soul itself. It has never abandoned you. It waits patiently for you to trust it, to follow it, to live in harmony with it. Do not underestimate the power of your authenticity. The universe has chosen you, out of billions of stars and centuries of history, to walk this path in this exact moment. That is no accident. Your very being is part of a cosmic design. May you walk with clarity. May you live with courage. May your actions reflect the beauty of your soul's blueprint. And as you do, may you discover that the true purpose of life is not merely to reach a destination but to walk each step in alignment with the infinite truth already within you. This is Vedira, closing this masterclass with love, with reverence, and with the timeless reminder: your purpose is not somewhere out there, it is here now, alive in you. Trust it, live it, and let the world be transformed by your light.